I'm here with Tasha Daly. Tasha Daly has a 2016,
Yes.
currently playing in St. Louis. And one of the big things that I think that the hockey world is lacking is honestly just support for parents, support for moms, dads too. But I feel like I get a lot of questions of just, hey, what's next? Hey, how do we navigate this? So I think the best way for us to help with that is just have people on, answer questions that they have,
Yeah.
and go from there.
Yeah. Sounds
So I'm gonna open up right away. What's one thing that what's one thing you wish you knew about we'll say about the hockey world that you wish you knew now?
I honestly still don't feel like I know anything about the hockey world. But I think one of the hardest things right now as we watch our son kind of progress to the next phase is how to feel like you're pushing them and how to feel like you're helping them get to the next level without worrying that you're burning them out. I don't know, like the balance of trying to figure out how to kind of keep them, thriving and moving up without overdoing it has been really challenging.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and obviously with us being on the training side, we deal with it a lot. So like how I always would tell parents is like if you take your player away from the rink, say for 24 hours, which I do know Nash, so I know 24 hours for him away from a rink is a long time. But I think like if you're burning them out, whether it's 6-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 35-year-olds, whatever it is, like if you take that player out of the rink and they don't ask about the rink or hey, when's hockey, or I think that's a telltale sign of like maybe they need a break. If they're out of the rink for 2 days and they're like, hey, like when are we going back to the ice? When's the next practice? When's the next game? I think that's a good way to judge it, especially for a 7, 8, 9-year-old that, yeah, they know emotions and feelings, but they don't know exactly what burnout feels like.
Right. Okay. Hopefully next year we're going to be moving up, to AAA. We got to get through tryouts and all of that. But I honestly don't even think I know what to expect out of AAA hockey. And I kind of feel like we're already in, a feeder program to it, so it's going to be a little similar. But from a, travel and keeping up with school and all of that, I honestly feel like I'm going to be blindsided next year. Any advice?
Advice? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the crazy part is like, if you go from playing, say, club hockey to AAA, you're going to go from 1 or 2 practices a week to probably at least 2 to 3 hour and 20-minute practices a week. You're going to go to playing 30 games, maybe for some clubs at the youth age, and then, to playing probably 50, 60, maybe 70. And it depends on the teams, team managers, everything along those lines. But, obviously, like, it's definitely different than when I grew up playing AAA. Like, we left on Fridays and you came back on Sundays. Now it's like you're leaving on Wednesdays and you're missing school. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just knowing going into it, like, it's a full-time job, like, which is crazy to say for anybody at 10 years old, 9 years old, but it really is. Like, families have to realize, like, not only is it the time commitment of the 2 to 3 hour 20-minute practices a week. Some teams are still going to do off ice, whether it's like a shooting room or workouts, and then on top of that, like, you're going to be traveling, and again, some organizations, some teams are going to make sure that you're not traveling too far as a 9 and 10-year-old, and then some are you're going to be going to Toronto every other week or Boston. I think everybody I know is in Boston or Detroit every other weekend. So, I mean, I guess just be prepared for the chaos that it's going to ensue, and honestly, like, it doesn't stop, which is sort of the sad part.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just going to keep going from there. But we're already, I feel like we're already traveling every other weekend.
Yeah, and it's stressful. Like, it's keeping up with the Joneses, like, just like a real life thing. Like, it's, like, what's little Johnny doing, or who's little Johnny playing for?
Yes.
And it's hard to say no to stuff because you feel like you're going to get left behind or left out, I guess is a better way to say it. But I mean, I know players that played Central States until they had to go play AAA because their career was sort of on the line, and some of those guys are playing in the NHL still. I know, like, the thing is, like, you never know the path that's going to happen, especially when they're 9 and 10 years old. Like, they might get burnt out and hate hockey. you know,
I hope that doesn't happen, but that's
it-
something you always think
it
about.
doesn't happen. And another thing is like, and this is the blunt side of it, like boys or girls, like they hit 14, 15 in cars and girls,
Yeah.
boys, partying.
Yeah,
It all comes
it
into
happens.
play, and it's life.
Yeah. Yeah. You were touching on the keeping up with the Joneses, and we're already kind of, you feel that. And we try to be, Nash plays, baseball in the summer, and he plays soccer, and we try to keep him involved in everything because we don't want him to just be in one thing. But we have had to say no to a couple cool opportunities, over this coming spring and summer. But I feel like they're still so young, and there's still so much that they need to learn just about skating and just technical skills. Do you think it's better to really kind of focus on that kind of stuff right now rather than just always be trying to like go play with different teams and play so many games and all of that? I was not a hockey player. My husband was not a hockey player, so we don't always really know what's right to do.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely not a huge fan of spring and summer tournament teams. Now, I always do tell people, like, I think if you can play one or two at a high level, just to have different coaches, have different players around you, like, that's probably worth it, and it's just an experience. Do I think that that's going to help you make your team wherever you're trying out? I truly don't think it's going to help. I think that in the summer is a great time to, depending on your age, whether it's you need to get stronger, faster, work on maybe a skill that you're lacking a little bit. I think your time and your money is better spent doing that type of stuff. Because obviously there's always something you can work on. But you can't do that in a team setting, really. Like, I mean, even during the season, like that's why people still train, and that's why, because team settings are for team development, really. And I know parents get frustrated sometimes, like, hey, coach hasn't spent an hour with my kid during the. It's like, well, yeah, but there's 20 other kids on the ice. You can't. Unfortunately, you can't do that as much as we all, as coaches, want to do that.
Right.
So, I mean, personally, I think doing what's best for you is the best answer, which is sort of the corny, answer, but it's
the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, it's again, the game has changed since I played AAA, but like we didn't have any summer tournaments. Like most of us played probably two sports, but until 8th grade, where you were like, okay, now I have to go. Now, if I'm going to be serious about it, like I've got 5 to 6 years to like do it and give it everything I have. But yeah, I mean, I think that kids still do need to be kids. Like, and if you're going to play sports, like I would never tell anybody to play one sport at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. Now, I do think if you're like hockey is your sport, like be hockey, but play other sports for fun. Like, I don't think you need to be doing select hockey, select baseball, select soccer, select badminton, like, because then your life is just chaos.
That's my life right now. That's exactly.
And that's one kid. Like,
that's not even throwing in the twins.
Yeah, that's only having one kid. So.
But that was kind of my next question, though, is that some people, and some people's kids just really only like one sport, and it is what it is, and that's fine. But kind of wondering when that time frame is going to be where you kind of have to start kind of pushing everything back to the side, because you see your kid love everything and everything's fun for them. You don't want to see, take away their friends on other teams. I think we've got a little bit of time for that too, but I'm already kind of feeling that getting a lot tougher to do. But it's good for their development to do more than one thing. I mean,
I agree. I think so. I think, and once you switch to, say, one sport, like, I think your training obviously shouldn't have things that, are like other sports to them. Like, it's not just about weightlifting or, being athletic. We say it all the time, like, to a lot of our players, like, you just need to be more athletic. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a rush for it. I think it's, again, but some kids at 6 years old now are like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
Which is crazy because I didn't even put skates on until 10. So like I didn't have these issues. Yeah.
I did not know that.
So I didn't put ice skates on until 10.
Because now you feel like if your, son's not skating or daughter's not skating by 4 or 5 years old, you're behind. It's a crazy world.
We have a 2.5-year-old, and I'm like, all right, once a week is
good.
Once a week is good. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just, again, I think it just really depends on each kid, but I don't think there's a reason to push them to be a full-time 7-day-a-week hockey player at 10 years old. Like, it's.
And mine's still 8, so we got a couple of years.
You got a couple of years, but I think 8th grade's a great time because that's where you start to, like for most players that want to go play high-level junior hockey or after AAA or their goal is to go play college, like, you sort of want to be gone like your junior year of high school. Like your goal shouldn't really be to finish all 4 years of high school.
Okay, that's going to bring me into my next.
So now we're on the next journey of hockey.
Because I feel like I am just in the last year started to understand, you go from here and then there's Central States and then there's, AAA and how all that lays out. But I feel like after that, I have no idea what to expect if he still loves hockey and he still wants to, play and move up. How does that progression look? And we have heard, people say, oh, your son might be, gone by the time he's 15, which is very hard to even think about. I'm like, absolutely not. But is that how kind of the progression goes?
15 would be young. But I mean, now it's changed where like a lot of people, so really the progression is going to be, if you're starting in just say youth organization, AAA, then you really want to go to juniors, like, and if your path is to play Division I, like really, and it's changed a little bit because now you can go to Canada because they just changed the rule of Canadian Hockey League. So, but you really want to be in like the USHL, the North American League, now the CHL, like it's sort of changed a little bit in the last literally like 2 months. But like I left I was a senior when I left. I was, but I was young, like I was 18. I was young, so like I got traded to Alaska as a senior. Like from here, I was playing in St. Louis and got traded to Alaska. So like, it was either like I went and my career hopefully continued, or I packed up and hung out, and I don't know what would have happened. But so yeah, I mean, so I say like some of those leagues are younger. Now not everybody's like that. Obviously, like there's a ton of late bloomers, and I think it's happening more and more. Like I didn't graduate college till I was 25. But that's because I played 3 years of junior hockey.
Which is so different from the soccer world.
Right.
I was done
You're a true freshman.
I was 20, right?
Yeah. So, and I think it's great because, I mean, if I would have went at 18, I don't think I would have known any idea what I would have wanted to do at school.
Like if you would have went straight to college at 18.
And I wouldn't have played Division I because I needed 3 more years to develop.
Is there a certain age that you have to be like starting college if you're going to go play college hockey?
So you age out of juniors. So like right now this year, the oldest birth year is 2004s.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, 2004.
Crazy to think about.
Only 12 years. 12 years from now. So next year will be 2005. So you have to move from junior hockey to college if you continue playing.
Okay.
So you get till you're 21.
Okay. Wow.
So it's yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't think I knew that happened. And I heard somebody talking about it the other day that was like, your children could be gone by the time they're 15, 16, which is crazy. I mean, you leave for college at 18, and that feels young enough. But the thought of them going is, hockey's a very different world than soccer was.
Well, and a lot now are going to prep schools. Like, so Shattuck, South Kent, Mount, there's a ton of options now that I would say some are great, some are, they're going to promise you the world. But, kids are doing that at 15, 16, and that's, but it's, again, I think it's every situation. Like, we had a kid, 4 years ago now that ended up going to Shattuck. Well, if you can go somewhere like Shattuck, your path, your trajectory is a lot different. So there's definitely opportunities that if they come knocking, like, you got to take it. You got to take it. So, yeah. So 12 years from now.
I mean, which I can't believe we're already, we almost have a 9-year-old, so that's gone fast enough. So, oh man. Okay, well then, switching gears a little bit, injuries. Is there anything from, they're little and they're not supposed to be checking or anything like that, but
her kid likes to check, but
it gets pretty rough. We're getting there. But they are. I mean, all of these boys are rough, and you see them, fighting for their goalies and all of that at this point, which is honestly kind of cute because they're not really.
It's team camaraderie.
Right. Nobody's really like hitting each other, or doing anything that they could hurt each other. But sometimes when you see them, get hit or even accidental run-ins and things like that, you stop breathing as a mom because you're always afraid of the worst case scenario. So is there anything that they should be doing or that they can be doing when they're young to, whether it's training techniques or anything just from strength and conditioning, we're not lifting or anything like that, but just body weight stuff or anything they can do to kind of help keep some of these hockey injuries and these board injuries at bay?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like obviously we have 7, 8 year olds in our gym. No, that's not in a squat rack. That's
Right.
not, I think working on agility,
Right.
sprinting, core strength,
Yes.
body weight squat, anything body weight.
Right.
Like I'll repeat that, body weight.
Mhm.
Like you're helping, the growth of obviously muscle. You're helping really the stability. Like
Right.
that's the biggest thing. I mean, I definitely know the feeling. Like I can relate. My mom cried multiple times. Like,
I mean, I have stopped breathing
especially,
multiple times.
yeah, especially the first time that you fight and your mom sees you. That's a wild experience. And then she just gets used to it.
Yeah.
But so I mean, I think everything like that you can do. Really like stability stuff at that age, like in band stuff, like nothing you're not hindering growth. It's because like in reality, like they are getting hit young.
Yeah.
They're playing the body younger and younger,
Yeah.
which they should be in my opinion, because
Yeah.
it does help them prepare them. But I think the more muscle you have, the more that you can, I don't know, I guess have that, the tendons and everything just working together is going to help. But I mean, I think just doing push-ups, wall sits, squat jumps, sprints, like,
All good.
yeah, I think
I know.
that's,
I worry so much about like the neck injuries. Every time they're by the boards, you tell them to keep their head up, but they're also 8 years old. They're 8 and 9 years old, and they are.
and you can't control
you
everybody
can't.
else.
So that part, it just doesn't get less scary. It's just something you have to deal with in this sport.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is like, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, you hear about the bigger incidents, incidents like on social media now, or something crazy happens, but like concussions obviously for 2 or 3 years were really, really big, and then obviously they're still happening,
Right.
but they're not talked about as much again, and then I'm sure it'll come back up in a couple of years. But I mean, I think every athlete, probably even soccer players, like everybody, we all deal with,
Yeah.
unfortunately, probably 1 or 2 concussions, and
I had a few.
the surgeries and the broken bones, and I mean, I don't know. I always they laugh, but I always say like doctors are good, so as long as it's not serious, we're
That's why they wear helmets, I guess.
yeah, noses might be a little crooked and stuff like that, but we'll be all right.
Oh, okay. I have a list actually.
Give a list.
Yeah, but I think I've gone through most of it. If there's one piece of advice, if you give your top piece of advice to any parents and any youth hockey players, what would be the main thing looking back that you wish you would have done, or something that you did that you thought was really game changing for you?
Oh man, I was gonna ask you this sort of the same question, so now I gotta think about it. I think for me it was honestly like, you just have to have the mindset, like I know that like the mindset that like nobody is going to like, I guess just like if someone doesn't give you the opportunity, it's not the end of the world. Like and like sort of paired that with like you always have to do what's best for you. Not in like a selfish way, like not become a selfish person, but like need to make sure that if you need to switch a team because maybe you've given it everything you have, and you think your opportunity might be better somewhere else, like I don't think that's a bad thing. I do think it can be a bad thing if every year you're switching because you're not happy or something. So then I think it's time to look in the mirror. But like I really wish that one thing that I would have, like, especially the older I got, was like if I didn't feel like I wasn't what I thought I was earning and not given, but like would have just gone and talked to my coaches, tried to figure out maybe what they were saying that I wasn't seeing and just assuming.
Right.
And honestly, just like it's a ginormous process. Like I know this is like 2 or 3 things, but it's like we talk to parents every day, and like one day that parent might hate what's going on, and then literally 5 days later their kid played 5 times more than what they did 5 days ago, and now everything's great.
Right.
So like it's a process. Like you don't know the journey that's going to happen. Like like you said, you might hate hockey in a year, you might never quit playing hockey. Like there's going to be people that come in and help you in your career, there's going to be people that probably hinder your, like it's just a huge journey, and it's hard to like be patient, just like
Right.
anything. But I think those are probably if I could really help people, like it's just like take a breath, don't get caught up with everybody else, and
It's the
as
hardest
long as
thing to
your
do.
kid is improving and you think they're where they need to be, like it doesn't matter if little Johnny's playing quad A's, or like we're gonna get to the point where there's literally gonna be leagues calling 4 AAA, like it's gonna be wild. So
I feel like it's already wild enough.
It is the wild, wild west sometimes. So I'd say that's probably just some good advice off the top of my head.
It's good to know.
So, all right, I'm gonna flip the script now.
Go right ahead.
I guess so like we've talked a little bit about it, but like, what do you think's helped your son like get to where he's at so far? Like, whether it's just, and he's natural, like he definitely has natural ability, like I'm not gonna argue that, but like, and he loves the game.
He loves it.
But like, I guess for him, like, do you think it was always trying to play with like better players? Because I think he's always tried to play up, or the competition side of it. So I guess what do you think's helped him the most since in his playing career so far?
Yeah, right. All 8 years, or not even 8 years, 3 years of it. Honestly, we've done a lot of just skating, and I think so. Nash got moved back to be a defender. When he got moved up last year, he moved into a defensive position. So we were like, you know what? If that's where you need, I kind of think us letting him have fun and kind of laying off a little bit has really helped him a lot. But we were like, okay, this is where your team needs you. This is where you're going to play. So then we're going to make you the best one that there is, or we're going to try. That's, kind of the whole goal. So we focused a lot on, just more kind of one-on-one trainings and a lot of skate trainings just to make sure that he was as fast as he could be, and that his, edge work was, as good as an 8-year-old can
Right.
be, and that he was strong skating backwards and those kind of things. And I think really focusing on, coming back and not being like, you got to score goals and panicking about all of that, and trying to work more and complement smaller things like your backwards skating was so good today, or your, you had 2 assists and that was such a big deal. We make big deals out of the littler things. I think that has kind of helped his confidence grow. And then for him, just with our team, we're playing in just some fun, like Friday night games that we do, and letting him just kind of go and build his confidence there and just have so much fun with it has helped him so much. And really, truly, I'm the guilty party here. I'm so competitive. I mean, I'm so competitive to a fault. I played college soccer. My family can't even have family game nights if somebody's throwing a board at that point. We're all like that. But we really tried to change our focus after games from getting, on him and not having good car rides home to just finding like the good things and just really saying, good job. Did you have fun? Was it fun? Is it still fun? Pushing that has really changed, I think, his nerves going into games, and he's really started to excel, and he's really come a long way.
Those car rides, they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt it. I felt his mood change. I felt how, we kind of felt. And like, my husband's actually pretty laid back. He's very crazy competitive too, but when it comes to them, he was always the more laid back one, and it was me. I was honestly the problem. And I kind of figured out how to check that, and I really think that from a parent side helped him a lot in his game. I'm not afraid to fall on the sword. I was the problem.
No, I remember car rides home. You said that, I was like, yeah, I mean, you either talked or there was no words spoken.
Yeah.
And that was like, you knew.
Yeah, you knew.
If you had a good day, you're like, all right, we're talking.
Yeah.
If you had a bad day, you're like, okay, I'm ready to get out of this car,
Yes.
and hopefully we just go our own way when we get home. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, Dad, I still love you.
No, sometimes you do. There's always the conversation, but we've kind of been like, listen to your coach. You're not always going to have the best game. And I really think that that's been helpful for him. But, is it going to be helpful for all kids? No, we've just kind of figured out what works for him.
Right. Yep. I like it. I like it. What is, I guess just since you're 3 years into hockey world, what's the best memory?
Oh, gosh.
I had to throw one out there.
The best memory. I mean,
so far. We
went to Canada this year. So right after Christmas, we drove, what a wild ride that was, driving to Toronto. We had a car that broke down. We were flipping luggage in the middle of our rental broke down. It was chaos, but that experience was so cool. They got to see the Hockey Hall of Fame. They got to play, playing teams from Canada and only losing 2 games by 1 goal was, I don't think we expected to do as well as we did, but the entire experience of being able to be up there and have the kids, even though Canada really is not that much different.
Yeah.
Having your 8-year-old already have the experience to go play in a different country was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it was a memory that those boys have. I mean, just the entire trip was such a core memory for them and for us as the parents being able to see them.
Yeah, I've heard it. Now having a 2-year-old, I'm like, oh, core memories are a thing.
They are a thing.
They are a thing.
They
But
are a thing.
no, I think that's, I mean, if I look back on thousands of games played and travel, like, I don't really remember the wins and losses besides the big ones, but
Right.
it's like the shinny hockey in a hotel,
gosh.
or, you know, like, I mean, I remember
cracking
car
down on
rides
that.
with 9 kids in your car
Yep.
because you're going back from dinner and it's a,
Yep.
you know, and like, those are definitely the,
Uh-huh.
as you would say, the core memories
Yep.
of hockey. Like, the fun part of it, like, you sort of hopefully forget all the
Yes.
lows of hockey,
Mhm.
because we're definitely all gonna have more downs than ups, I think, in the career. But those are, like, even when you look back at when I'm 36 years old, like, I mean, I remember literally car rides, or, you know, I think still to this day everybody goes to, you know, Indiana, and everybody goes, like, just being in pools, and like,
Yes.
it has nothing to do with hockey.
They don't get to be in pools that often, but they,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
but when they get to be, they love it, and they do. In the pictures and the videos that we have to take 100 videos of their, you know, cannonball chains going into the pool and that kind of stuff. They love it, and it's just really cool to see them kind of build that little like family amongst themselves, you know. And then they come home from practice and they jump on their video games that they're playing NHL against each other, and
Yeah.
it's kind of cool to see that little bond.
It doesn't stop.
No, I don't
Doesn't
think
stop.
it does.
I mean, I guess my last question would be, I'm not going to ask for the worst memory because no one wants to know. But I guess just like, what's the best learning experience that you've had? Like, so obviously, like, Nash is always like, he's always learning, but like, a learning experience of like something I guess you wish you would have known, or like it caught you off guard, but then you're like, man, I wish I would have just known this ahead of time. Whether it was like going to tryouts and you didn't know what to expect, or like, you know, I know we touched on like going to AAA next year a little bit, and but if there's something where like, you know, it almost like punched you in the face a little bit in the, again, 3-year career, but
Right.
everybody goes through that moment where you're like, man, I either just got lied to, or I either just got, you know, thrown for a loop without knowing it really.
I feel like we've been pretty lucky that we really haven't had to face any of that yet. I would say probably the biggest wake-up call, which is going to sound crazy, was after his first. So he played his first year of 6U. He just played a half year. We are not hockey people. We didn't know anything about hockey. We expected him to be a star soccer player. That's what he's going to do, and he's a great little soccer
We
player.
changed him for the better.
But he loves hockey. I mean, my lord, does he love hockey. But after that first year, he was not good. He couldn't skate. I mean, he had just started. And then you get thrown on these teams and you see all the other kids that are way better. And we were like, he almost didn't play again. That was it. That first half year, he was like, I don't want to do this again. I can't skate. I scored 1 goal, and that wasn't fun. I didn't have any fun. And we actually ran into my best friend's dad, and her little brothers both played, you know, juniors and AAA hockey and all of that. And, you know, Keith was like, how was your first year? Thinking I was going to be so excited.
I hate it.
And I was like, that was terrible. He is not good. He had no fun. He didn't enjoy it. He had fun. Yes, he had fun with the boys. But, you know, to kind of see him feel like, gosh, I'm not as good as everybody else. We almost didn't come back. And her dad said, you are going to see every single year these kids have ebbs and flows. And who is the best one this year is not going to be the best one this year. Who's the best at 8 and 9 is not always going to be the best at 13. You've already bought the jersey. You already have the gear. Give the kid 1 more year. Just make him play 1 more year. And I was like, all right, we'll see. And then my husband was like, we already have the jersey. Let's just sign him up for 1 more season. And from 1 year to the next, to see the difference and to see the change was like, you really need to calm down and like see how these kids go year after year, because he's not always going to be the best one. He's not always going to be the worst one. And I think that was a big wake-up call that is honestly helpful for us as he's moving up, because, you know, Nash, I feel like, is a way different player this year than he was last year. A lot, you know, even playing for the same club and, you know, playing for the same team, watching kind of how he has changed from 1 year to the next, but we also have kind of made sure that we keep the reality of the fact that next year he might no longer be, you know, I don't even, they're all great. You can't even say one.
Right.
You know what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. Like, he has really come a long way, but does he kind of fall off next year? And we have to kind of build him back up. And to not let him get shaken by that, I think just realizing that that's just the way that it goes, and you just got to kind of keep pushing him through it, is from the first year. I mean, he was 5 years old. I think that is honestly one of the best things that we've learned very, very early in the game, that there's a lot of change from one year to the next.
Yeah, and the hard part is like, unless you're playing AAA or something like, AAU or
Right.
like you have 2 birth years.
I think that's what we are right now, right?
You're-
AAU? Okay.
Yeah.
I still have no idea what we
like you guys have 1 birth year. So
Yeah.
like your competition is only 2016.
Right.
So like we're AAA, it's always just 1 birth year until
Right.
you get to, 18U. Well, then it's 2 birth years again. And
Oh, I didn't know I had no idea.
yeah. So, but if you're a 10U moving to 12U or you're a 12U moving to 14U, like, you're always the young, like, you always are the old guy and then you're the young guy. And it does happen. Like, I remember playing with guys that were, we're 14 years old and they were already, I was not 6'4" at 13, but like, they were. And like, they were already getting looked at, and it's like, but they didn't keep progressing because they had it in the bag, or it was easy for them because they were the biggest kids on the ice, and and things like that, where like it will go. It's just one of those things where if you keep working and you have this skill, then I always say, like, once you have your spot, like, it's sort of your spot to lose,
Right.
because yeah, it literally